All right, Shredders, take those metronomes, turn it all the way up. I'm Jordan at the Music Zoo, here with Tommy. Today we're talking about our newest exclusive run with the Fender Custom Shop, the Yngwie Malmsteen Neo-Relic Stratocaster. Let's get into it. So real quickly, what is the Neo-Relic? It's an Yngwie Malmsteen Signature Stratocaster, but we went ahead and gave it a nitrocellulose relic treatment. So this one's a beautiful burgundy mist metallic. There's a couple other finishes. Before I get into the guitar itself, I want to talk to you, Tommy, about all things shred.
Sure.
You're a shredder yourself. And back in the day, I think you told me a quick story or two about seeing Yngwie on stage.
So the first time I heard Yngwie was actually a friend of mine who was a drummer, and he played me an album called Steeler, which I have here actually. And the Steeler record was the first introduction that I heard of Yngwie, and he was a really young guy at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a really young
It's
dude.
a kid.
And there was a syndicated radio show back at that time, like I guess it was like '83 or so, and it was called Metal Shop. And it was a nationally syndicated show. And in the beginning of the show, when they introduced the show, it would be like Metal Shop, and it would be like this really crazy sound, like which is on this record, and it's Yngwie kind of basically taking
like oscillating his delay.
It's an oscillating delay, and it sounds awesome. And it was the intro to the show, and that was probably one of the first moments that I heard that sound. And then a drummer friend of mine like introduces me to the Steeler record, and you know, so 1983. You already at that point heard Eddie Van Halen and loved Eddie, and maybe Randy and Gary Moore and all of these, Michael Schenker. The list of great guitar players went on, and then you hear Yngwie, and it's at a speed that you've never heard anybody play the guitar
The
before.
BPMs went up.
And yeah, there was Yuli, John Roth, and he was super fast, and Al Di Meola and all these people and stuff, but he took it to a completely another level. And I kind of remember that moment of hearing him and just kind of being like, oh, it's another one of these moments where like
you're like, do I give up? Is this it? Like, how does it?
What do you?
How does that peak get higher and higher?
Yeah, it kept it just kept the level of greatness just kept going and going and going. So that led me from the Steeler record, you know, it wasn't too much longer after that. It's still in the plastic, actually, which is this rising
Japanese
force.
press, too, which is always cool.
I think this was the only one that I could get my hands on at the time. This was early on. I'm sure the Yngwie nuts would know, but this was, it had to just be released, and this was what I was able to get. It's still got the plastic.
Yeah, and you got the Obi strip. That's always cool, yeah.
So it's super cool. And not too long after that, he played Lamour in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Sick.
I believe it was May of '85, and I went with probably a couple of my degenerate guitar player friends. And you could tell that probably there were guitar players there from a 300-mile radius.
100%, there had to be, yeah.
Because you know, first of all, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Lamour was a popular place at that time. And Metallica was playing there, and Anthrax, and White Lion, and all these.
For anyone not from New York, or like the tri-state area, Lamour was a legendary club. Yeah, everyone played there.
Absolutely.
Name a legendary rock band that played a 500 cap room. They played Lamour's.
Yeah, I'm sure the internet will correct me on this, but I feel like there was at least 1,500 or 1,600 people.
Maybe it was a bigger club,
at that room, and they'd squeeze them in like sardines. It was a complete
If
fire hazard.
If I had a DeLorean, I'd be at Lamour's every night. Yeah.
And it was wonderful, and it was so much fun, and it was a who's who back then of that scene, and I'm sure the guys at Metallica were hanging out there all the time, and certainly Anthrax and White Lion, and all those people were just. It was just. I remember White Lion was rehearsing in the basement of Lamour for years too. That was their rehearsal space. Anyway, packed house for Yngwie, May of '85. I was there and watched him just rip the place apart. He was unbelievable, and everybody left kind of bummed out because it was all guitar players. They just were just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm witnessing this guy. And he did, you know, like he was throwing the guitar up in the air, the Strat in the air. He had a 10 or 15 minute guitar solo, and during that guitar solo, I remember him playing Bach's Bourrée, which was just on a Stratocaster, you know, through Marshalls. It was all incredible, and everybody wanted to witness this guy just at the unbelievable legend.
Do you remember how many cabinets were on stage?
Oh, it was full Marshalls, you know, like it was a full wall of Marshalls. Who knows if all of them were plugged in, but it certainly.
I think they usually are, yeah.
Yeah, it certainly
crazy.
was amazing, and it sounded great. It's funny. It was right before we did this video. You were talking about like how you found it online. So it's apparently on the audio of it's online. So.
Yeah, if you search YouTube for Yngwie's show at Lamour's in 1985, there's like a 10-minute clip. So it's a little bootleg tape you could hear, but it's nuts.
But he set the new level for shredding, really, and there were people to follow after that probably even brought it a step above that. It really became unbelievable. But he made his place in rock and roll guitar history.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously changed the way people played and looked at the guitar. It's funny because, you know, you go through this period where you're buying Van Halen records and you're buying Ozzy records and you're buying Yngwie Malmsteen records and Racer X and all these things as a guitar player. And then at one point, because, you know, like Yngwie was just so fast and he was doing a lot of Paganini stuff, I found myself in the record stores buying Itzhak Perlman Paganini Caprice records, you know, because it was just like the fastest thing and he was doing that. It was really incredible. And, you know, he's a legend, and I think that everybody in the guitar community kind of like knows and loves him and appreciates who he is as a human. You know, there's so many great stories I've heard about Yngwie during the years. John Cruz, Masterbuilt at Fender, told me a story years ago about how they were going to do the Duck.
The Play Loud Strat, the Play Loud tribute
right?
Strat, yeah.
And John flew out to Florida, and Yngwie picked him up at the airport with his Ferrari. And I think he had a Mondial Ferrari at the time, which I think there's probably the only Ferrari that has a back seat, or one of the only Ferraris. I don't know too much about them. But John told me this story about how he was sitting in the back seat and Yngwie was in the front seat driving with his shirt off and his hair like flapping in his face as they were driving along. And it was just like a really funny story as they were recreating this guitar. And it's always something that I wanted to do here, which is have the relic version of this guitar, because I always felt, you know, it was closer to his original guitar. So we called Yngwie's people, Yngwie called Fender's people, and had this whole dialogue and created this exclusive run.
Yeah, I think that's what's really cool about it, that it's blessed from the team that we got, obviously, Yngwie's permission to do this run, because,
So it's wonderful. So it's all the things that you love about Yngwie and all the specs that you'd see in his normal custom shop Strat with the addition of the relicing treatment, and it's just incredible. We have them in all the finishes. I believe there's 4 finishes, right? There's vintage white, you're holding the burgundy mist metallic, candy apple red, and sonic blue. They're all amazing. They're all exclusive, and they're here. Well, we got them, I guess, you know. Like,
you're gonna go fast.
Yeah, I want one.
Speaking of which, let's go over it and talk about the specs real quick. It's a custom shop Yngwie Malmsteen as the base model, so you have an alder body, maple neck, but on the relics, you have a really nice bare finish to this, kind of like the Play Loud Strat, right?
Sure.
You have a scalloped maple fretboard. I wonder how many people kind of like did a DIY scalloping back in the day when they saw Yngwie. Probably a lot.
Probably a lot. But
this one, we kept it to the pros. And it's really effortless to play. It's awesome. Yeah. I got used to it in like 20 minutes in the office. It was so fun. And if you're a shredder, you're gonna love it for sure. It has extra jumbo frets, which goes with the scalloping. It makes all that stuff so fast. You have Yngwie's signature Fury pickups from Seymour Duncan. You're gonna unleash the fury with these pickups. They're noiseless, stacked single coils. So if you're turning up the gain, obviously you're gonna do that. It's gonna be really nice and super quiet. I believe they're Anaco 5s, and the bridge is wound a little bit hotter than the neck and middle, because when you're gonna go to that lead position, you want it to cut through, for sure. Vintage style tremolo, 5-way switch, volume 2 tones. On the top, you have that signature Yngwie look for that late 60s headstock, Yngwie's signature in the decal, Fender F-tuners, and one key difference between the custom shop Yngwie and the standard production is that the standard production guitar has the bullet truss rod. This is more of the vintage style with the truss rod adjustment at the neck heel, which is still cool, and I think it looks really nice with the whole relic look of the guitar. It's a lot more fitting. Yeah. And speaking of finishes, you know, we're talking about how Yngwie is such a rock star. I think these flashy finishes go with it perfectly.
Absolutely.
Like this in a Ferrari, Burgundy Mist, are you kidding?
You know,
the Rolexes?
Yeah, I feel like celebrating Yngwie and who he is and his personality. And you mentioned rock star, you know, like it's these idiosyncrasies in these guys that make, and girls, make it so much fun, you know. And he certainly brought personality along with his great guitar playing to these guitars and to us as fans, you know. And just thrilled about this.
Yeah, he's truly one of the great ones of
Yeah.
like a flashy personality to go with flashy guitar playing.
Yeah.
Like the world needs folks like that
Absolutely.
of all types to make their music stand out. And I think these guitars are a really fitting tribute to him. We're really excited and happy that the Malmsteen family and the Fender Custom Shop gave us the blessing to run these. We got a couple in stock right now, but I think these are gonna go
Yeah.
fast as hell.
Yep.
Faster than you can shred.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so we got a couple colors. If you want to custom order one, give us a call. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Music Zoo. Come visit us in our showroom on Long Island. We'll see you soon.